The firing range on Orbital Station 7 stretched nearly 200 meters long. Stood at the entrance, her heart pounding as she watched dozens of alien cadets moving through their weapon drills. Some had 4 arms. Others had crystalline skin that sparkled under the bright lights. A few stood nearly 3 meters tall, their bodies covered in what looked like living rock. Was human. Average height, average build, completely unremarkable compared to the warriors around her. She was 19 years old and very far from home. "Cadet, you're up next," the assistant instructor called out. Was graceful and elegant with skin that shimmered like polished glass. Her voice carried easily across the range despite being soft. Walk to the firing line. She could feel eyes on her. The other cadets were curious about the human. Earth had only joined the Galactic Coalition 5 years ago. Humans were still the newcomers, the species everyone talked about but few really understood. The weapon station attendant handed her a standard plasma rifle. It was heavier than Earth weapons, bulkier, designed to work for multiple species. Hefted it, feeling the weight distribution. Not terrible, but not great either. She stepped up to the firing line. Target drones floated downrange at various distances. Red lights indicated they were active and ready. Took a breath and settled into her stance. Her feet spread naturally to shoulder width. Her knees bent slightly. She gripped the rifle high on the stock, her thumb pointing forward along the barrel housing. Her support hand wrapped underneath, creating tension between both hands. Push-pull, just like her grandfather taught her. Just like thousands of years of human weapon handling had developed. Behind her, someone laughed. "Look at how she's standing," a voice said in Galactic Common. "Like she's afraid the weapon will jump away." More laughter rippled through the waiting cadets. Felt her face grow hot. She glanced back and saw a warrior named. He stood almost 2.5 meters tall with 4 muscular arms and skin like burnished bronze. His mouth split in what might have been a smile, showing rows of grinding teeth. "And that grip," another cadet added, "is she trying to strangle it?" Cadet's voice cut through the mockery. The assistant instructor approached, her movements fluid and precise. "Your stance is incorrect. You appear to be using some form of primitive technique." "It's how I was trained on Earth, ma'am," said quietly. His large eyes studied her for a moment. "The Coalition military has spent centuries developing optimal firing positions for all species. I suggest you adopt the proper stance. Feet parallel, shoulders square, arms fully extended with elbows locked. The weapon stabilization system works best when you provide a rigid platform." Wanted to argue. Wanted to explain that human bodies didn't work that way, that locked elbows fought recoil instead of managing it, that rigidity was the opposite of control. But she was one human among 300 alien cadets. Who was she to question centuries of Coalition doctrine? "Yes, ma'am," she said. Shifted her stance, feet parallel, shoulders square. She straightened her arms, locking her elbows. Everything felt wrong. Her body wanted to move, wanted to flow, wanted to absorb and redirect. Instead, she was rigid, locked, fighting herself. "Fire when ready," said, stepping back. Engaged the first target. The plasma rifle kicked harder than she expected. With locked elbows, the recoil traveled straight through her shoulders. Her second shot went wide. She corrected, but the rigid stance made micro-adjustments difficult. She fired again. Better. Again. The target pinged with a hit. She moved through the drill. Hit, miss, hit, hit, miss. The targets were moving now, lateral motion at 50 meters. She tracked them, fighting the urge to move with them. Coalition doctrine said to pivot from a planted position. It felt slow, awkward, like fighting in quicksand. When the buzzer sounded, lowered the rifle. Her shoulders ached from the unnatural position. Her jaw hurt from clenching. 68% accuracy, announced, reading from her. Adequate for a first attempt. You may return to the waiting area. Adequate, the word stung more than the mockery had been scoring 95% on Earth ranges since she was 15. Now she was adequate. She walked back past the other cadets. They'd already lost interest in her. Just another human struggling to keep up. Nothing special, nothing worth noting. Found a seat on the bench and pulled out her own. The class rankings updated in real time. She scrolled down, looking for her name. There it was, 247th out of 300 cadets. 247th. She closed her eyes and tried not to feel the weight of disappointment crushing down on her. Her parents had worked 3 jobs to send her off-world. Earth's government had sponsored only 12 cadets for this academy. Everyone back home was counting on them to prove that humans belonged in the coalition military. And she was 247th. First time's always rough, a voice said. Looked up to see another human cadet sitting down beside her. The girl had kind eyes and a sympathetic smile. I'm Park. You're right. Yeah, managed. I scored 62% my first time, said. Now I'm up to 71. It gets better once you get used to their methods. Their methods, not our methods. The distinction felt important somehow. Thanks, said, trying to smile. Nodded and moved on. She meant well, knew. But the comfort felt hollow. Getting better at the wrong technique was still wrong. From the observation deck above the range, a massive figure watched the proceedings. Was one of the coalition's most respected warrior species. His body looked like living stone and weathered from 40 years of military service. 3 eyes sat in a triangular pattern on his broad face, each capable of independent movement. Right now, all 3 eyes were focused on the human girl walking back to the bench. Pulled up her file on his command tablet. Age 19. Seoul District, Earth. Preliminary scores from Earth Military Academy. Marksmanship 96%, close combat 92%, tactical assessment 94%, physical conditioning 88%. Exceptional scores, remarkable for any species. Then he looked at her coalition preliminary training scores, average across the board, some even below average. That didn't make sense. Had been teaching at the academy for 12 years. He'd seen thousands of cadets from dozens of species. He knew the patterns. Cadets who tested well in their native training usually adapted quickly to coalition methods. They might struggle at first, but the underlying skills transferred. But scores had gone down, significantly. He reviewed the firing range footage, playing it back frame by frame. First, he watched her initial stance, the one the other cadets had mocked. He noted the foot position, the knee bend, the grip technique, the slight tilt of her head for sight alignment. Then he watched her shoot using that stance. Her body flowed. Micro-adjustments happened without conscious thought. The weapon moved with her breathing, her heartbeat, her natural rhythm. Then he watched her switch to coalition stance. Everything changed. She became rigid, mechanical, fighting the weapon instead of working with it. Her accuracy dropped 28%. Sat back, his rocky features unreadable. He'd seen this before, once. 20 years ago during the contested zones conflict. He'd fought alongside human Marines, watched them operate in conditions that should have killed them. They moved differently than any species he'd encountered. Fluid, adaptive, creative. The coalition had won that war partly because of those human Marines. But afterward, when Earth joined the coalition, the military brass had insisted on standardizing everything. One doctrine, one set of techniques, the coalition way. Had disagreed at the time. He'd written reports that were ignored. Eventually, he stopped writing them and accepted his teaching post. But he never forgot what he'd seen. Never forgot what humans could do when they fought like humans. Now he was watching it happen again. A talented human warrior being forced into a mold that didn't fit. He made a decision. His thick fingers moved across the command tablet, composing a message. It was brief and direct. Cadet, report to Private Range 4 tomorrow at 600 hours. Bring your training rifle. Instructor. He sent it and leaned back in his chair. The other instructors wouldn't understand. The academy administration would probably disapprove, but had spent 40 years in the coalition military. He'd earned the right to train a cadet however he saw fit. And if he was right if she had even half the potential he suspected, then the galaxy was about to learn something important about Earth's warriors. On the bench below, chimed with an incoming message. She read it twice, frowning in confusion. Private range for 600 hours. Why would the legendary master gunnery instructor want to see her? She had no idea, but she knew she'd be there. Private Range 4 was smaller than the main training facility. Arrived at exactly 600 hours to find the lights already on and instructor waiting. The massive stood beside a table covered with various weapons. "Cadet," he rumbled. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together, deep and powerful. "Thank you for coming." Sir stood at attention, uncertain what else to do. Studied her with all three eyes. It was unnerving but not hostile, more like he was trying to see something beneath the surface. "At ease," he said finally. "This is not a disciplinary meeting. Consider it a consultation." Relaxed slightly but kept her posture correct. "Sir, may I ask what this is about?" "You're shooting," said simply. He moved to the table and picked up a weapon, not a plasma rifle like she'd used yesterday. This was a kinetic rifle, projectile-based, much closer to what humans used on Earth. "I reviewed your file. Your scores from Earth training were exceptional. Your scores here are adequate at best. I want to know why." Felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I'm still adapting to coalition methods, sir." "Are you?" Central eye fixed on her while the other two scanned the rifle he held. "Or are coalition methods adapting poorly to you?" The question caught her off guard. She'd spent 3 days assuming the problem was her, that she was weak or slow or not good enough. The idea that the methods might be wrong had never occurred to her. "I don't understand, sir." Held out the kinetic rifle. "Show me how you really shoot, not the coalition way, the way you learned on Earth, the way that earned you a 96% marksmanship score." Took the rifle. It felt immediately more comfortable than the plasma weapon. The weight distribution was familiar, the balance point natural. She looked at, searching for any sign of a trap. His expression was neutral, patient. She walked to the firing line. Target drones activated downrange. Took a breath and let her body remember. Feet shoulder-width apart, knees bent, weight slightly forward. The rifle came up naturally and her hands found their positions without thought. High grip, thumb forward, support hand pulling, push-pull tension, skeletal alignment. She fired. The first shot hit center mass at 100 meters. She transitioned to the second target, her body flowing with the movement. Her knees absorbed the micro-adjustments. Her hips rotated smoothly. The rifle was an extension of her arms, her body, her intent. 10 shots, 10 hits, all within a handspan grouping. Then she switched to rapid fire, target after target. Her breathing stayed controlled. Her stance flexed and adapted with each shot. 20 more rounds downrange in smooth succession. When she lowered the rifle, her heart was pounding, but it was from excitement, not exhaustion. She turned back stood motionless, all three eyes locked on the target display panel. After a long moment, he walked downrange to examine the targets directly. His massive hand traced the tight groupings. When he returned, he moved close enough that she had to tilt her head back to see his face. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, almost reverent. "Only Earthborn can shoot like that." Blinked in surprise, "Sir." Gestured to the bench. They sat, though perched on the edge while settled his bulk more comfortably. He was silent for a moment, gathering his thoughts. "I have been an instructor for 12 years, he began. "Before that, I served in active combat for 28 years. I have trained with warriors from 47 different species. I have seen every technique, every stance, every method the coalition military teaches." He paused, his central eye fixing on her. And I have never seen anyone shoot the way humans do. I don't understand, said. Lots of species use rifles. They use rifles, yes, agreed. But they do not become one with them the way humans do. Do you know why the coalition teaches rigid stance, locked elbows, minimal movement? Shook her head. Because for most species it works, explained. Most coalition species evolved on lower gravity worlds than Earth. Their bodies are less dense, their proprioception less developed. They rely on the weapons stabilization systems because their own bodies cannot provide stability naturally. He gestured at the rifle still in her hands. But humans evolved on a high-gravity world. You are persistence hunters. Your ancestors chased prey for hours, for days, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. You learned to throw rocks and spears with deadly accuracy while running. Your bodies developed incredible spatial awareness. You know where every part of your body is in space without looking. You can make micro-adjustments without conscious thought. Had never thought about it that way. It was just how bodies worked, wasn't it? Your grip technique, continued, uses muscle tension to create stability. Your stance uses your skeleton as a natural shock absorber. You flow with the recoil instead of fighting it. These are sophisticated adaptations that took your species millions of years to develop, and the coalition military tried to train it out of you in 3 days. The weight of his words settled over her. So I'm not bad at shooting. You are exceptional at shooting, said firmly. You are adequate at shooting like someone you are not. Felt something loosen in her chest. Relief maybe, or hope. Why are you telling me this, sir? Stood and walked to the table. He picked up another weapon, a different model, and tested its weight thoughtfully. In 3 months, the coalition war games will take place, he said. Every military academy sends their best team, 8 cadets competing in combat scenarios. The games are watched by billions across the galaxy. He set the weapon down and turned to face her. I want to train you privately, teach you to use human techniques properly to their fullest potential. But you must continue using coalition methods in official training. The other instructors would not understand. They might even ban what they would call primitive or unsafe techniques. You want me to hide what I'm doing? Asked. I want you to survive long enough to prove yourself, corrected. The coalition military is not ready to accept that their doctrine might not work for everyone. They will say it is unsafe, inefficient, outdated. They will pressure you to conform. He crossed his arms, his rocky features serious. But if a human, using human techniques, could compete in the war games, if you could show the galaxy what Earth's warriors are truly capable of. He trailed off, but the implication was clear. Thought about the mockery on the range yesterday. Thought about being ranked 247th. Thought about her parents working 3 jobs so she could be here. Thought about the 11 other human cadets trying to prove Earth belonged in the coalition. What would the training involve? She asked. Everything, said simply. Movement drills, combat scenarios, stress conditioning. I will teach you what I learned fighting beside human Marines during the contested zones conflict. They were the most adaptable warriors I ever encountered. They could fight in conditions that would kill other species. They turned disadvantages into advantages. He paused, and something that might have been respect flickered in his eyes. The coalition sees humans as weak because you are not the strongest or the fastest. But you are the most adaptable predator in this galaxy, and that terrifies them more than they will admit. Stood up, the rifle was still in her hands, still warm from firing. She thought about everything the coalition military represented: order, unity, standardization, and she thought about what was offering, the chance to be herself, to fight like a human instead of pretending to be something else. When do we start? She asked. Mouth split in what might have been a smile. Now, we have 3 months to prepare you. That means early mornings here, standard training during the day, and some evenings if needed. It will be difficult. You will be living two different lives. I understand, sir. Good. Moved to the weapon table and selected several different models. We start with the fundamentals, not coalition fundamentals, human fundamentals. Your grandfather, what did he teach you about shooting? Blinked at the unexpected question. He said shooting was like breathing, natural, that your body knows what to do if your mind doesn't interfere. Wise man said, that concept is alien to most species. They overthink, overanalyze. Humans can operate on instinct while simultaneously thinking tactically. Conscious and unconscious working in parallel, not in sequence. It is one of your greatest advantages. He handed her a different rifle. Show me how you move while shooting. Do not think about it, just move. Took the rifle and walked to the firing line. Targets appeared at various ranges and angles. She didn't plan her movements, she just flowed. Left, right, forward, back. Her body knew where to be. Her hands knew when to fire. The rifle tracked smoothly and targets pinged with hits. When she finished, was nodding slowly. Yes, he said. This is what the coalition needs to see. Not humans trying to be or humans being the apex predators they are. Over the next hour, worked with her on basic drills. He corrected small errors in her technique, explained the why behind different positions, and helped her understand what her body was already doing instinctively. Tomorrow, same time, he said when the session ended. For now, remember, in official training you use their methods. In here you use yours. Can you maintain that separation? Yes, sir, said, though she wasn't entirely sure. As she left Private Range 4, her chimed. A message from the Academy Registrar. Updated class rankings. She opened it cautiously. Her ranking from yesterday's shooting, 247th. But there was a note attached. Next qualification round in 1 week. All cadets will be reassessed. Smiled. 1 week. 7 days of secret training with. It wouldn't be enough to transform her completely, but maybe it would be enough to show glimpses of what was possible. Maybe it would be enough to make people wonder. She headed to her dormitory, already planning tomorrow's early wake-up. Behind her, in Private Range 4, remained. He stood looking at the targets had destroyed with casual precision. Come on, kid, he muttered to the empty room. Show them what Earth's warriors can do. 6 weeks passed like a blur of exhaustion and adrenaline. Every morning at 5:30, dragged herself out of bed and made her way to Private Range 4. Every morning was already there waiting, weapons laid out, scenarios programmed, ready to push her harder than the day before. The first 2 weeks had been about unlearning. That was harder than expected. Coalition training had drilled responses into her muscle memory and made her break every single one. Stop planting your feet, he would growl when she froze in position. Humans are mobile hunters. Why are you pretending to be a tree? She learned to shoot while moving, not just walking but running, dodging, transitioning between cover points. On Earth, ancient human warriors had thrown spears while chasing prey at full sprint. Showed her how that same principle applied to modern firearms. Your body is designed for this, he explained during one brutal morning session. Your inner ear provides balance while moving. Your eyes can track targets independently of your body motion. Your brain can calculate trajectory while your legs are running. Use all of it. By week 3, she was engaging targets from positions coalition doctrine considered impossible. Shooting while rolling, firing accurately from awkward angles, using terrain features not as cover to hide behind but as platforms to shoot from. In combat, you will not always have the perfect stance, said. Coalition warriors struggle when forced from optimal positions. You need to be dangerous from any position. Week 4 brought stress conditioning. Simulated equipment failures, time pressure, multiple threats appearing simultaneously. He forced to make decisions in milliseconds, to trust her instincts when conscious thought was too slow. Analysis paralysis, he called it. Most species freeze when overwhelmed with options. Humans can act on partial information and course-correct in real time. That is your advantage. Use it. Started to understand what made humans different. Other species were often stronger, faster, more specialized. But humans were generalists. They could adapt to anything, learn anything, survive in conditions that should have killed them. During official training sessions, maintain the act. Coalition stance, coalition methods, adequate scores. She ranked around 200th now, showing slow improvement but nothing remarkable. The other cadets ignored her. The instructors noted her progress with approval. Only knew the truth. But someone else was noticing irregularities. Park cornered in the dormitory corridor one evening. The other human cadet looked concerned, not angry. "You're leaving every morning at 5:30, said quietly. "I hear you. Where are you going?" Stomach tightened. She'd been careful, she thought. Just extra conditioning, trying to improve. "Don't lie to me," said, but her tone was hurt rather than accusatory. "We're supposed to stick together. There are 12 humans in 300 aliens. We need each other." The words hit harder than any rebuke. Was right. The human cadets should support each other, and had been keeping secrets. She made a decision. "Come with me tomorrow morning," said. 5:30, private range 4, but don't tell anyone else. Not yet. Studied her face, then nodded slowly. "Okay." The next morning, brought to meet. The massive regarded the second human with his three-eyed stare. "Another student?" he asked. "She deserves to know," said. "She deserves the choice." Considered this, then nodded. "Very well, Cadet Park, pick up that rifle." For the next hour showed what she'd learned, the earth stance, the grip technique, the movement patterns, struggled at first just like Had, but then something clicked. Her body remembered. Muscle memory from childhood, from humanity's evolutionary heritage, came flooding back. "Why didn't anyone teach us this from the start?" asked, breathing hard after a drill sequence. "Because they do not understand it," answered. "To them, it looks primitive, inefficient. They cannot see the sophistication because it is not their sophistication." Looked at with new understanding. "How long have you been doing this?" 6 weeks. "And you're still ranking around 200th in official training." "I have to," explained. "If I suddenly jump to the top using different techniques, they'd shut it down, call it unsafe, make me stop." Nodded slowly, then she smiled. "So what's the plan?" "The War Games qualifier trials," said. "In 6 weeks, that's when I stop hiding." Meanwhile, other eyes were watching too. The warrior who had mocked on her first day stood in the Academy's security office. He was technically not supposed to be there, but his family's political connections gave him access most cadets lacked. "Show me private range 4 usage logs," he told the security officer. The officer hesitated. "Sir, those are restricted. Private training sessions are confidential." "My father sits on the Coalition Defense Committee," said flatly. "Show me." The logs appeared on screen. Private range 4 reserved every morning from 5:30 to 700. Authorized by Master Gunnery Instructor. Participants, Cadet. Recently added, Cadet Park. "Interesting," murmured. He'd been thinking about the human since that first day. He'd mocked her, yes, but he'd also watched her file. Her Earth scores were exceptional. Her coalition scores were not. That discrepancy bothered him. Didn't like mysteries. He left the security office and headed for his dormitory. Along the way, he passed the main firing range and paused. Through the observation window, he could see running through a standard drill. Coalition stance. Coalition method. Mediocre results. But he'd seen glimpses. Moments when she moved differently. A stance that looked more natural before she corrected it. A grip that seemed more comfortable before she adjusted. She was hiding something, and the legendary instructor was helping her. Made his own decision. He would watch, wait, And when the qualifier trials came, he would see what the human was really capable of. Back in Private Range 4, the training continued. War game scenarios are unpredictable, explained one morning. You cannot prepare for every possibility, so we prepare you to adapt to anything. He programmed scenarios that broke coalition tactical doctrine, situations with no good options, chaos where textbook responses would get you killed. Learn to trust her instincts, to make split-second calls, to accept imperfect solutions. Coalition warriors want perfect tactical situations, said. They maneuver for advantage, establish optimal positions, then engage. But combat is rarely optimal. Humans excel in chaos because you can think creatively under pressure. Week 7 brought advanced techniques, showed her how to transition between weapon types rapidly, how to use environmental features as weapons, how to read opponents and exploit their tactical patterns. Every species has predictable behaviors, he explained. Favor direct assault, prefer range and maneuver, anchor defensive positions. Learn these patterns and you can counter them. What about humans? Asked. His mouth split in his rock-grinding smile. Humans are unpredictable. That is your greatest weapon. No one knows what a human will do because humans adapt moment to moment. Week 8. The qualifier trials were 2 weeks away. Was faster now, smoother. Her accuracy from any position, any stance, any condition was consistently above 90%. She could engage multiple targets while moving at full sprint. She could transition from rifle to sidearm in under a second. But she was also living 2 lives. The exhaustion was catching up with her, dark circles under her eyes, muscle fatigue, the mental strain of constantly switching between human and coalition techniques. You need to decide, said one morning when she fumbled a reload. Are you willing to show them what you can do? Once you reveal yourself in the qualifiers, there is no going back. You will be judged, questioned, maybe even pressured to stop. Thought about her grandfather. He'd fought in Earth's unification wars, back when humanity was still divided. He used to tell her stories about being outnumbered but never outfought. We win by being what they don't expect, he'd said. Let them think we're weak, then show them what human spirit really means. I'm ready, told. The massive nodded. Then we have 2 weeks to polish your skills until they shine. No more holding back in here. I want to see everything you can do. The final 2 weeks of preparation were intense, pushed her harder than ever. Complex scenarios, multiple objectives, simulated injuries, everything designed to stress test her abilities to their limit. Trained alongside her when she could, though she was weeks behind in development. Still, saw the potential. Was a natural athlete, and once she reconnected with human movement patterns, her progress was rapid. Will you use these techniques in the qualifiers? Asked her one morning. Hesitated. I don't know if I'm ready. You've had 8 weeks. I've had 2. That is wise, said, surprising them both. Cadet Park, continue training, but do not reveal yourself prematurely. There will be other opportunities. What about you? Asked. Are you scared? Considered the question honestly, terrified, but also excited. For the first time since I got here, I feel like myself. The night before the qualifiers, couldn't sleep. She lay in her bunk, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that led to this moment. Earth seemed very far away. Her family, her home, her old life. But tomorrow she would step onto that qualifier course as a human warrior, not pretending to be or just herself. She thought about Instructor's words from that first day in Private Range 4. Only Earthborn can shoot like that. Tomorrow, the galaxy would see what that meant. Tomorrow she would show them. The qualifier arena was massive, taking up an entire section of the station. 300 cadets gathered in the staging area, their nervous energy filling the space like static electricity. The trials would run for 3 days, testing every aspect of combat capability. Only the top performers would earn spots on their Academy's War Games teams. Stood among the crowd, breathing slowly, centering herself. She wore standard Academy combat gear, nothing special or distinctive. Just another cadet among hundreds. But inside, her heart raced with anticipation. Today, she stopped hiding. All cadets, attention! A voice boomed over the speakers. The crowd quieted. Day 1 evaluates individual marksmanship across multiple scenarios. You will be scored on accuracy, speed, and adaptability. First group, proceed to the firing line. Was in the third group. She watched the first 2 groups go through their paces, studying how they moved, how they shot. Coalition stance, every single one. Rigid, mechanical, reliant on their weapons' stabilization systems. Third group, forward. Walked to the firing line with 29 other cadets. She found her assigned station. Target drones floated at various distances, their red lights glowing. A range officer her identification, then stepped back. Cadets ready. First stage begins in 10 seconds. Took her position. For the last time she thought about using coalition stance, playing it safe, staying invisible. Then she thought about her grandfather, her parents, the 11 other human cadets struggling to prove Earth belonged here. She settled into her human stance, feet shoulder-width apart, knees bent, grip high and tight, thumb forward, support hand pulling. Her body knew this position like it knew breathing. Around her, cadets were already whispering. She heard his voice from somewhere behind her. Look, the human is using that strange stance again. Begin. The first targets activated. 200 meters static position, fired in controlled pairs. Her body flowed with each shot, absorbing recoil through her knees and hips. The targets pinged with hits. Center mass, center mass, center mass. She finished in 23 seconds. The warrior next to her finished in 31 seconds with 2 misses. Around the arena, cadets were starring. Second stage, 50-meter targets, lateral movement. Coalition doctrine said plant your feet and track with the weapon, moved with the targets instead. Her whole body flowed left and right, the rifle tracking smoothly. She fired while moving, something most species found nearly impossible. 15 shots, 15 hits. The whispers grew louder. Third stage was transition work. Rifle to sidearm to shotgun equivalent, all under time pressure with targets at varying ranges. This was what had drilled into her for 8 weeks. Feel the weapon, don't analyze it. Let your hands know where to go. Burned through the course like water flowing downhill. Natural, inevitable. Her transitions were smooth as silk, her accuracy never wavering despite the weapon changes. When the buzzer sounded, she stepped back from the firing line. Her score appeared on the overhead display. 9th place. Out of 300 cadets, she'd placed 9th on day 1. The arena fell silent for a moment. Then the noise erupted. Cadets talking, arguing, questioning. How did the human do that? What was that stance? How did she move like that? Walked through the crowd back to the staging area. She kept her expression neutral, but inside she was burning with fierce joy. They'd seen it now. They'd seen what a human could do. Appeared in front of her, blocking her path. His 4 arms were crossed, his bronze skin gleaming under the arena lights. But his expression wasn't hostile. It was calculating. That was different, he said. Yes, replied simply. Where did you learn to shoot like that? Earth. Studied her with all 4 of his eyes. I mocked you on your first day. I was wrong. He stepped aside, letting her pass. As she did, he added quietly, but you are going to face questions. The instructors will want to know if your techniques are safe, approved. Some will try to stop you. Let them try, said. In the observation tower, Instructor stood beside Academy Commandant. The leader's crystalline features were unreadable, but his voice carried concern. That human is using unauthorized techniques, said. She is using human techniques, corrected. Nothing in coalition regulations prohibits species-specific methods. Those methods have not been tested for safety and efficacy. They have been tested for thousands of years on Earth, replied, and clearly they are effective. Turned his elegant head toward, you trained her privately. It was not a question, met the commandant's gaze without flinching. Yes, I saw a talented warrior being forced into a doctrine that did not fit her physiology. I chose to help her reach her potential. The coalition military has spent centuries developing optimal combat methods. Optimal for most species, agreed. Not for all. Humans are different. They require different approaches. Was silent for a long moment. Finally, he sighed. We will discuss this later. For now, the trials continue. Day 2 tested combat scenarios and tactical decision-making. Cadets entered simulated battlefield environments filled with holographic enemies, civilians, and environmental hazards. Success required threat assessment, tactical planning, and execution under pressure. Entered her assigned scenario. Immediately, the simulation threw chaos at her. Enemies from multiple directions, civilians in crossfire, limited cover options, a ticking clock. Coalition doctrine said find optimal defensive positions, establish fields of fire, engage methodically. Did something else entirely. She moved. Not random movement, purposeful, flowing, adaptive. She used terrain features not as static cover but as platforms for engagement. She fired while advancing, while retreating, while transitioning. Her human spatial awareness let her track multiple threats simultaneously without freezing in analysis paralysis. Watching from the observation deck, a cadet murmured, "She fights like the environment is part of her." "Because for humans it is," another voice replied. It was who'd been watching's performance with pride and amazement. Completed her scenario with 0 civilian casualties and all threats neutralized. Her ammunition efficiency was remarkable, using 40% less than the average cadet with similar scores. She placed 14th overall on Day 2. Day 3 was the endurance test, 12 hours of continuous operations combining combat, obstacles, equipment failures, and simulated injuries. It was designed to break cadets mentally and physically, to separate those with true warrior spirit from those who merely looked the part. This was where human evolution became critical. Ancestors had been persistent hunters on the African savanna. They could run prey animals to exhaustion over days. They could continue functioning when stronger, faster predators gave up. Her body was built for endurance, her sweat-cooling system more efficient than most species, her oxygen processing optimized for sustained effort. 6 hours into the test, cadets began dropping out. Despite their massive strength, overheated rapidly. There was cooler than Earth, and their bodies couldn't handle prolonged exertion. The quick and graceful lacked the stamina for marathon efforts. Kept moving. Her techniques, her stance, her methods, all were designed for efficiency. She didn't overpower challenges. She adapted to them. When her primary weapon failed, she switched seamlessly to secondary weapons. When her left arm was tagged with a simulated injury, she adjusted her grip and kept shooting. At hour 9, she was in the top 20 still active. At hour 11, top 12. At hour 12, when the final buzzer sounded, she was one of 8 cadets still on their feet and operational. The final rankings appeared on massive screens throughout the arena. 6th place overall. She'd earned a spot on Team 7 for the Coalition War Games. Found her in the staging area, exhausted but triumphant. The other human cadet was grinning. 34th place, said, showing her. Not enough for the main team, but I made reserves. We did it, both of us. You used the techniques, said. It wasn't a question. Some of them, the ones I'd practiced enough, and it worked. Its expression turned serious. But you're right, I need more training, I need what you have. Around them, other cadets were celebrating or mourning their results, but many were watching, some with respect, some with curiosity, a few with suspicion. Approached with 3 of his friends, but instead of confrontation, he extended one of his 4 hands. "You earned your spot fairly," he said. "I wanted to apologize for mocking you, for assuming human methods were primitive. I was wrong." Shook his hand. The grip was careful, controlled. He could have crushed her hand easily but chose not to. "I studied human military history last night," continued. "After watching you in the qualifiers, your species won wars against superior forces by refusing to fight the way enemies expected. The Coalition teaches us there is one right way to fight. You proved that is a lie." "Not a lie," said carefully, "just incomplete. Coalition methods work for most species, but humans need different approaches." Nodded slowly. "Your team leader is. He is like Instructor but much more traditional. He will expect you to adapt to Coalition team tactics." "We'll see," said. As if summoned, a massive figure appeared through the crowd. Was even larger than, his rocky hide unmarked by the scars of combat. He was young for probably only 10 years out of his warrior academy. His 3 eyes swept over with clear skepticism. "Cadet," he rumbled. "I am team leader for 7. Report for team training tomorrow at 800. We have 2 weeks to prepare for war games. I expect full commitment and adherence to team protocols." "Yes, sir," said. Central eye fixed on her. "I watched your qualifier performances. Your individual techniques are impressive, but war games requires team coordination. You will need to integrate with Coalition tactical doctrine." There it was, the challenge had known was coming. Integrate, adapt, conform. She met's gaze without flinching. "I'll do my best, sir." "See that you do." Turned and walked away, his footsteps heavy on the arena floor. When he was gone, leaned close. "That sounded like a warning." "It was," agreed. That evening, found Instructor in his office. The Massive was reviewing tactical footage, his 3 eyes tracking multiple screens simultaneously. "Congratulations," he said without looking away from the screens. "6th place, well done." "Wants me to use Coalition team tactics," said. "Of course he does. He is a good warrior but very traditional. He will not understand what makes you effective." "So what do I do?" Finally turned to face her. "You have 2 weeks before war games. In that time you must decide what kind of warrior you want to be, one who fits in, or one who wins." "Can I do both?" "Perhaps," said, "but it will not be easy, will push you to conform. Your teammates will expect familiar patterns. You will be tempted to hide your abilities again to make everyone comfortable." He leaned forward, his rocky features serious. "The galaxy is watching now. They saw what you can do in the qualifiers. If you revert to mediocrity in the war games, they will forget. But if you can show them what human warriors are truly capable of." He trailed off significantly. Understood. This was bigger than just her now. This was about Earth's reputation, about proving humanity belonged in the Coalition as equals, not charity cases. "I won't hide anymore," she said. His mouth split in his grinding smile. "Good, because in 2 weeks the real test begins." Team 7 training was a disaster from the start. Had designed formations and tactical sequences that assumed all 8 team members would move in coordinated, predictable patterns. Coalition doctrine at its finest. Rigid, efficient, proven across dozens of species. And completely incompatible with how fought. "Hold your position," Cadet barked during their 3rd practice session. "You are disrupting the formation." Froze mid-movement. She'd been flowing to a better angle, using cover dynamically. But the rest of the team was locked in their assigned positions, and her movement left a gap in their overlapping fields of fire. "Sorry, sir," she said, moving back to her assigned spot. The drill continued, forced herself to stay planted, to fight like a Auror, to ignore every instinct screaming at her to move, adapt, flow. Their practice scores were terrible, worse than any individual team member's qualifying scores. They were fighting against each other instead of as a unit. After the session pulled aside, the Massive looked frustrated. "Your techniques work for individual combat," he said, "but war games requires teamwork. If you cannot adapt to coalition tactics, I will replace you with an alternate. We have only 2 weeks. I need soldiers who can follow doctrine." Felt anger rise in her chest, but she kept her voice level. "Yes, sir." That night she lay in her bunk staring at the ceiling. She'd fought so hard to get here, to earn her spot through merit. And now she was facing the same pressure as before. Conform or fail. Hide yourself or be replaced. The door chimed, checked her screen and saw waiting outside the other human on Team 7. He'd been silent during all the practices, always following coalition methods exactly. She let him in. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "Too much thinking," admitted. Sat on the edge of her desk. He was quiet for a moment, then said, "Show me." "Show you what?" "How you really fight. The techniques you used in qualifiers. Everyone's been talking about it, but I want to see it up close." Studied him carefully. "Why now? You've been on the team for a week. You never said anything before." "Because I was afraid," said simply. "Afraid of standing out, of being different. I watched you in qualifiers and realized I've been trying to be something I'm not. I can't I can't be more rigid than it, but maybe I can be the best version of myself." Something in his words resonated, made a decision. "Come on," she said. They snuck into an auxiliary range, one of the smaller facilities that stayed open all night. Showed the stance, the grip, the movement patterns. Everything had taught her. Was a natural. His body remembered Earth techniques immediately, muscle memory from childhood flooding back. Within an hour, he was shooting with an accuracy he'd never achieved using coalition methods. "Why didn't they teach us this from the start?" he asked, echoing's question from weeks ago. "Because they don't understand it," replied. "To them it looks wrong." They practiced until dawn. When they returned to their dormitories, his expression was determined. "What are we going to do about?" he asked. "I don't know yet," admitted. But the next day, everything changed. 2 team members fell ill with a viral infection. Their species was susceptible to a pathogen that didn't affect others. Suddenly, Team 7 was down to 6 members instead of 8. All their carefully planned formations were useless. Called an emergency meeting. The looked exhausted, stressed. His rocky features creased with worry. "We are destroyed," he said flatly. "Every other team has full rosters and months of formation training. We have 6 people and no coordination. We will be humiliated at war games." The team sat in silence, then spoke up. "What if we stop trying to fight like them?" His 3 eyes focused on her. "Explain." "Every team will use the same coalition playbook," said. "Defensive positions, coordinated advances, medium-range engagements where auto-stabilization gives advantages, so we don't do any of that." "What do you propose?" The voice came from the doorway. Stood there, uninvited. He wasn't on Team 7, but he'd been watching their struggles. Stood and walked to the tactical display. She pulled up a standard war game scenario. "We use asymmetric tactics, rapid movement, close-range engagements, terrain exploitation, unpredictable positioning. We don't try to match their strengths. We force them to fight our kind of battle." "That is not coalition doctrine," said. "No," agreed. "It's human doctrine, and it's how weaker forces defeat stronger ones." Stepped further into the room. "I have been studying human military history. Your species won wars against superior enemies by refusing to fight the way those enemies expected. Coalition teaches us there is one right way to fight. Humans prove that is wrong." Looked between them, clearly skeptical. "You are asking the team to abandon everything they have trained for." "I'm asking them to try something different," said, because what we're doing now isn't working. Stood up, I support this. I'll fight the human way. The other 4 team members looked uncertain, but they were also desperate. Their current approach was failing. Finally sighed. We have 12 hours until transport to the war game station. If we are going to try this madness, we need to start now. I can help, a familiar voice rumbled. Instructor appeared in the doorway behind, if you are willing to learn. That night was chaos. Drilled the team in basic human tactical concepts, not to make them human but to teach them to think differently, to flow instead of holding rigid positions, to adapt instead of executing predetermined plans, to trust instinct alongside analysis. For the alien team members, it was revolutionary and terrifying. Everything they'd learned said there were rules, proper positions, correct responses. Now they were being told to improvise, to react, to create. But they were also the best cadets from their respective species, which meant they were smart enough to see the potential. The Coalition war games were held on Battle Station, a massive orbital platform designed to simulate planetary warfare. 8 academy teams, dozens of scenarios, billions watching across the galaxy. The opening ceremony was overwhelming. Stood with Team 7 in the arena looking up at screens showing the crowd. So many aliens, so many species, all watching. First scenario begins in 1 hour, the announcer declared. Teams, report to your staging areas. The first scenario was a classic. Capture the relay station. Teams would compete to seize and hold a central objective while defending against other teams. In the staging area, gathered them close. Remember what we practiced, he said. Fast, fluid, unpredictable. Do not try to fight their way, make them fight ours. They deployed into the scenario. The terrain was urban, lots of cover and verticality, perfect for coalition tactics. Establish firing lanes, coordinate suppression, methodical advance. Team 7 did none of that. They hit fast and hard, and led a flanking maneuver that put them inside the enemy perimeter before the defending team realized they'd moved. The rest of 7, emboldened by early success, abandoned rigid formations and adapted in real time. They won in 8 minutes. The average for this scenario was 35 minutes. In the broadcast booth, commentators struggled to explain what they'd just seen. That was highly irregular, one said. Irregular, yes, but effective, another replied. Team 7 just rewrote the tactical manual. Over the next 3 days, 7 became the story of the war games. They didn't win every scenario. Their unconventional tactics sometimes backfired spectacularly, but they were competitive in ways no one expected. Media attention focused on. Reporters asked about her unique style. Military analysts dissected her techniques. Some called it chaos. Others saw genius. A coalition general's interview went viral across the galaxy. What we are seeing is not just about shooting techniques. It is about cognitive flexibility. Humans do not just adapt to their environment. It. That is not a trait you can teach easily to species who evolved differently. By day 5, the championship came down to 2 teams, 7 and Prime Academy, the heavy favorites. The final scenario was brutal. Defend a position for 20 minutes against overwhelming assault. The attacking force had superior numbers and positioning. It was designed to be nearly impossible. Coalition doctrine said establish perimeter, maximize cover, hold the line. Proposed something else, defense in depth, trade space for time. We do not defend the objective like a fortress, she explained in their planning session. We defend it like a trap. Let them think they are winning, then close the jaws. Had learned to trust her instincts, do it. The assault began. 7 engaged at range, then fell back, not retreating, repositioning. They channeled attackers into kill zones, then abandoned those zones before being overrun. And operated as a free element, appearing where least expected, disrupting enemy formations, then vanishing. Their human decision-making speed became critical, reacting to battlefield changes faster than opponents could adapt. With 5 minutes remaining, chaos reigned. 7 had lost 2 members to simulated casualties. The objective was contested, 4 against 12. Went down, now it was desperate. Made a decision that violated every coalition rule. Instead of defending the objective, she charged the attackers. Followed without hesitation. The remaining 7 members, caught in the moment's intensity, followed too. It was a berserk countercharge that caught Prime completely off guard. They trained to assault fortified positions, not to defend against suicidal charges. For 30 seconds, pure confusion reigned. The buzzer sounded, time expired, 7 still held the objective. They had won the Coalition War Games. The awards ceremony was massive, billions watching across the galaxy. The Coalition High Marshal, a distinguished leader, presented the championship trophy to Team 7. Then he called to the podium. She was terrified, so many eyes, so much pressure. She thought about everything she wanted to say, about being underestimated, about human pride, about proving Earth belonged. Instead, she kept it simple. They mocked my grip technique because it looked wrong to them, but it was not wrong, just different. Humanity spent our whole history being told we are not strong enough, not fast enough, not advanced enough. Maybe that is true, but we are adaptable enough, creative enough, stubborn enough, and that counts for something. She paused, looking directly at the camera. The coalition is strongest when every species brings their unique gifts. Humans do not fight like or we should not try to. Our way is not better or worse. It is ours, and maybe the galaxy needs that. The response was overwhelming. Some criticized, many more celebrated, but everyone was talking about the human cadet who changed how the galaxy thought about combat. Weeks later, back at the academy, everything had changed. The firing range was crowded with cadets experimenting with different techniques, not just humans but aliens too, trying adaptive stances, exploring movement patterns, everyone finding what worked for their unique physiology. Instructor watched from the observation deck, beside him. She'd been promoted to the primary team for next year. "You started something," said two who joined them. "No," replied, thinking of her grandfather, of Earth's warriors throughout history, of humanity's long tradition of adaptability. "I just reminded everyone of something that was always there." On the range below, a cadet attempted a human-style grip. It was awkward for his 4 arms, but he was making it work. Nearby, and experimented with dynamic movement. "This is what the coalition was supposed to be," rumbled with satisfaction. "Not everyone fighting the same way, everyone learning from each other." Watched the cadets train, thinking about the future. The galaxy was vast, filled with threats and mysteries. Humanity was still the newcomer species, still proving itself. But now, at least, they were proving themselves as humans, not as copies of other species, not as inferior versions of stronger warriors. As themselves. And that made all the difference. Approached them, grinning. "Have you seen the Coalition Tactical Manual updates? They are officially adding human adaptive combat principles as an optional doctrine. Optional, not mandatory, but still. It is a start." Smiled, a start indeed. Change would be slow, many would resist, but the seeds were planted. She thought about that first day on the firing range, standing there with her natural stance while aliens mocked her, feeling wrong and out of place. Now she stood tall, knowing the truth. She had never been wrong, just different. And in a galaxy of billions, being different was humanity's greatest strength. The firing range buzzed with activity. Cadets of all species working together, learning from each other, discovering that there was no single right way to be a warrior. Somewhere in the distance, a young cadet asked her instructor, "Can I try the Earth technique?" The instructor paused, then nodded. Yes, let us see what works for you. Heard the exchange and felt something warm bloom in her chest. Pride, yes, but also hope. The galaxy was changing, one grip technique at a time. And it had started with a single human girl who refused to hide who she was. Her grip technique had been mocked, but in the end she had shown them all a simple truth. Only Earthborn could shoot like that, and the galaxy was better for it.